Hey guys, okay, I'm just playing with a concept, an idea. So let's take a look at this. This is the top of the cowl on the 30, and then it steps down, comes over, and that's the front of the cowl that's underneath the hood. This bottom line represents the hood, and I'm playing with hinge ideas. So I want the hood to open like a traditional car today from the front. So I'm making linkages up. I got it fixed in the vise. I got a piece of cardboard there. And now we pop the latch. Boom. Okay. This is wood. There's a little bit of, there's a little bit of slop, some 1/4-inch bolts. But I don't want to interfere here. So, and boom. And then of course I'd have a stop so that I wouldn't hit the cowl. But this line would represent the sheet metal on the hood. The bracing would be up here. That would be the overhang on the sheet metal on the hood because it's got to clear the cowl, and the weather strip would go on there. So this is as far as I've gotten. Today, I'll pop you out here. And that's a pretty decent hood angle. Let me back up. That's a pretty decent hood angle. And we're at the top of the cowl. The line moved in. This line moved in, representing the tin. And well, the key is to try and let's get this lined up. See? And I think that's a lot of slop in here. If I lift here. Yeah. So it comes up and away. And then articulates up. So for a better representation of what I'm looking at, so we've got to come up. Of course, this is all 3-dimensional, right? But that's about 6 inches above, 4 inches above this. Maybe closer to 6 inches above that. I measured that. I just don't recall what it is. And the hinge mounting would be in here, but it would need to articulate. This is only 3 inches, but approximately 4 inches in. So the articulation starts and then raises the hood up. And I want to go with that, 4-link design by crossing the arcs over and then have the hood open at an angle like that to the front. These old cars, I had 37, I have opening backwards, but you can't get into anything when they open backwards. The hood's in the front, so you can only access from here or on the opposite side. If this hood opens this way, then I can access from here, and I can get around to the front. I can get up close, if I need to service anything, or if I want to look at what's in there, or make, whatever. So that's what I'm experimenting with at this point. If I can make a hinge set that would come straight off, perpendicular to the firewall on both sides. Packaging's got to be tight because I got to come off and I got to cut short, it's going to intersect the bar here. So that's what I'm thinking about. Okay, so got to thinking about putting together the hood hinges, and wound up playing around for like 12 hours trying to do that. Now, keep that mental image. I did a couple of pieces with wood, and so I made a wooden hinge out of a 2-link, 2-bar per side, and played with the arcs so that I would, if I was horizontal on the arms or below horizontal, but in that neighborhood, I could lift slightly out and then up and then start hinging back. And with different radii on the upper and lower link, I could create rays and all of that. And I did it, and the issue was that the links were like 11, 12 inches long. One of them was, the longer one was, and I need to come out perpendicular from the firewall, because if I went at this angle, I would have to adjust all of the pins to perpendicular so that the hinge would be at an angle and yet go up on the same, I'll call it Z plane. It would go up the same. Secondly, the other side of this sheet metal is the interior. And right immediately inside of that, in this case, is the heater box, and on that side there's the arrangement for the power booster bracket and other items. And because the hood ends here, the finished hood ends here, pocket mounting the hinges, although an option, is not a good one for me, because I would have to move all of those items on the interior side. The cause and effect relationship of building a car, where you go to the next thing, the prior things that you've done interfere. So I'm playing with a hinge that would be on this surface or near this surface, that would lift up and hinge up and clear and be 4 inches forward. In this case, by design, 4 inches is to this point here, from here to there. Of course, you got gaps and you do some minor adjustment. But the point is that it would lift up and then arc. And if you imagine a hinge right here, a door hinge, a basic interior door hinge, you clear everything. But if you imagine this here, the hood is going down into the sheet metal. So it becomes complex. And that 2-link hinge, although it worked, it was long. With 2 links, it was long. So I needed to go and decide whether or not I could use that, because I'd have to move them way in. Well, moving them way in isn't an option on the side with the power brake booster. Plenty of clearance on the passenger side. But over here, I can only go that far. I got a triangle of opportunity if they mount here, but I got a triangle of opportunity for swing, in that very small channel. And I determined that channel length to be 8 inches. It's a little more, but if I stayed within the realm of 8 inches, I'd be fine. So that takes out the 2-link design, because I can't have 11-inch links just to get 11, 12-inch links to get get the hood above the cowl when it's lifting. So I decided I needed to go to a multi-link hinge. And I sat on here and played. And basically, before any of these black shapes were put in, I did line drawings. And each drawing represents movement. So this one is a rigid link, this curved one with 3 holes. And this one is a rigid link with 3 holes. And as they move through the motion, every knee in here, you can see the red is connected to the green, and I went up to an extreme, and the relationship to that red and that green is still up here, but the red can pivot on the green through this link here, which rotates up. Okay, the blue can rotate here. Where's the blue? Well, the blue is right here. It goes up. The other thing is that these 2 points from here to here, they can't change because there's a link there. And as is with every link, the distance can't change. With this ability to rotate and this ability to rotate on those 2 locations and those 2 locations allows this hinge to do a complex lift. Now, this line with the little hash mark on it, that was ideal. What I wanted the hood to do was to open up 24 inches, which is a lot. The goal was to achieve 24 inches. I was able to achieve 18 and a half. Now, 18 and a half is a fairly decent angle, but that 24 inches also required me to lift off the cowl. I wanted to get off the cowl, and that you can see, let's see if I can find it. Yes. This green line intersecting through that dimension line is getting me 5/16 off of the cowl. So I was going to allow the back of the hood to lift 5/16 of an inch up and the front of the hood to be 5/16 up. So it'd be 24 and 5/16 at the widest point here. But I couldn't get to that in the package that I wanted. This is the 8-inch line. This backside is mounted to the cowl, or it's the cowl reference line. And what's happening here is as these articulate, go through their motion, and the final distances are the same as the beginning distances, these are the arcs they need to travel through. So I continue to play with that again for a long time on the line drawings. And then I built just an 18 gauge sheet metal one and found that I'd made mistakes and I had interference. And so then I came back and I changed these shapes, because you can see this, for example, is swinging around to this location here. When I originally made it, I wasn't looking at the swing. I was just looking at the drawing, and this went straight up there. But now I have to relieve it out so that this can clear that as it goes through its arc, and those kinds of challenges. So after I finished that, then I packaged them all together. I put crosshairs on it. I printed it 1-to-1 because I have a plasma cutter, but plasma cutting holes leaves a hardened surface, and you can step drill up to them. In a sense, you can step drill up to them after you grind out the hardened surface. So it's easier to drill the holes. And there's 2 reasons. So there you can see it's a 10 gauge stainless. I blew everything out of 10 gauge on my plasma table using the LibraCAD. It converted the DXF, pulled it into LibraCAD, converted it to whatever LBN or whatever their file is, and then proceeded in cutting. The end result was that now I have all the pieces. Okay, I have where I need 2. I have 2. First step was for me just to take the dross, knock the dross off with a flapper disc. Okay, and that I've done. The second step then is for me to cut out the patterns, because what is critical in the pattern is the location of the hole. I mean, the shape of the pattern is critical too, but I mean, relatively speaking, the distance between this hole and this hole and this hole and this hole, that's what's critical. So I did the drawing with crosshairs, printed it out 1-to-1. I will affix this to one piece, right, as best I can, lining it all up. I won't be a 64th of an inch off, unless my scissor cutting is to be desired. I'll probably do some just spray glue, tack it on, and then punch. Stack them up together, clamp them at a few different locations so that they're in they're as aligned as they can possibly get in the plasma cut piece, cleaned, and then put them in the drill press. So then each one of them, those hole locations will be identical. And I'll go through all of my pieces and punch 1 out to cut 2, so on and so forth. So these are doubled, and these are doubled. That's the firewall mount. But the hood mount piece, which is this, and the center links and the pivot link, those are all singles that ride between the doubles. So that's a lot. But when you see it together and in motion, it's easier to understand. But this is not a copy of anything. This is me sitting down and trying to establish a method for opening the hood the traditional way. Those are going to pop off. None of this fold up and stuff like that. These are going to pop off the sides over the channel, and the hood will go down. If I want to drive it without the hood sides, the hood will open. I'll bring those off. I'll take those off and close the hood, and then I can drive it with the engine exposed, or vice versa. So we are moving along, and I'll keep you posted on the progress here. I need to return to this and this, as I have not two, one. These are the identical parts. That one to cut out, and then I will start punching and drilling the holes. Okay, I found it. This is just moments later. It was sitting right there. It might have even been in the video when I was talking, but my mouth was moving and my brain wasn't working. So I am missing the bottom link on here. This hole is an error. This is the bottom link, and it does attach to this location here in this mock-up. But this hole was a radii for a swing, and something behind. I can't remember now. Something was in a position behind it. It could have been the top side of this side of the link in the position it was in. And I don't remember. I could find it if we went back to the drawing, I suppose, but go to an older revision. But basically this goes here, and this length needs to go that long. The other thing is this is interfering. This will interfere with this, because my stack up, so there's my doubler. This is just 18 gauge for mock-up, but the stack up is here. That set of links, and let me pull it out of here. I should actually have this on a tripod. But as you can see, after I only built one back piece, and that now is on one side of this single. Okay? And it being on one side, it's going to interfere. I mean, obviously there'll be bolt throughs, but it'll interfere because it needs to travel. It needs to travel right there. It's hitting that. So I opted to make this a doubler and to modify that link for clearance. So what I have done is, I have to look at the drawing. I believe it goes in that fashion. This hole is wrong. It goes in that. Well, here, we'll do this way. It goes, yeah, that whole location, this whole location was wrong. And let's see here. That swings. That's the thing, is you got to have a drawing at the end. There you go. Yeah, this originally was overlaying this here, and so I took that whole location on the original 18 gauge. Sorry, this whole location I cut that or copied those and the top one and made the bracket, but it was incorrect. So you can see it arcs in, grabs that hole. Then I need to get around this bracket to the bottom hole, and it swings up. See this black line? It's kind of gray there. It's just a lighter line. This swings up to this position, and I needed the clearance there. So now I did, this is a double because it's got to be on one side of these intermediate links, but now this link and this link will be in the center, and this guy here will be a doubler, and this guy's a doubler. So this one, and this one are all two. That's a single, and a single, and a single. And I believe I'm correct in that. Yeah, I am. So now I modified it so in this position, you see he can come all the way down, and I've got clearance. Then he'll come all the way, swing up to this position, and the radius on this piece will fit into there with, ironically, the same or similar clearance. This radius is a little tighter. This is actually a circular radius. This is a fillet, and we'll have the piece. So, but I can show you briefly in motion. Now this is horizontal and this is vertical. I can show you the motion on this. So I'm going to set the phone down for just a moment so that I can put this guy in the vise and get an approximation of it, because I don't have that bottom link on. So in that bottom link will fix this, of course, the ability for it to rotate like that. So if we consider that vertical and this horizontal, as we open the hood, that's where I'm overlapping. This, I modified, this is all gone, all that meat is gone. And so if this is horizontal, the hood will open, this link will travel out, and it'll arrive at its position. I like the fact that but I don't have that link on. And that link will tuck right there, right up in there in the original version. So you can see the hood is traveling up. And I'm at in the case of this, where this winds up ending, it's just about 85 degrees down and about 85 degrees up. So that's the other thing you need to consider. You don't want it to bind at any point during its travel. So don't ever put anything through any rotating link true horizontal or true vertical unless it stays true horizontal or true vertical. So that is the hood hinge. This is it's not 5 inches from end to end. It packages in about a 5x6 arrangement. And it'll clearly fit in there. But I'll get the other one done. That was the mock-up phase. Okay, this is the setup for the drills. Again, I cut out the patterns. Just use spray adhesive. Gently place them on. Got white space all the way around. Again, what's critical is the placement of the holes. I center punched every hole on the crosshairs. This is where you see the little bit of the adhesive on it. Pulled the bolts out. Say, hey, well, that's not on center. That's part of the drawing. And again, the criticality, I have tolerances, but you can see I've got some work to do to clean these up. Plasma cut is great, and it is consistent, but when the sheet grows and shrinks, from the heat on the table, it can shift. And those are minor and all cosmetic, the shape, because all I'll do is establish more clearance anyway. But at the end of the story, I'll take these and polish the ends on my belt sander, and probably cut them quickly with a flapper, with a real coarse flapper. Just cut them quickly until I can just see the hint of the black, right? The dross from the plasma on each side, and then take them over and then dress them on the, on an 80 or 180 belt. And then in any event, so then I'll take this. Now this is a 2-up. I'll stack this on this. I'll line them up on a flat edge. If I need to get a square in there, I can, but I'll line them up perpendicular. I guess I was using this. I can run the vise all the way in. You grab a couple of inches, run them up against there, hit them with a vise grip on the ends, lock them into the vise on the drill press, and put my spacers in. I'm using plywood. Plywood seems to be relatively consistent because it doesn't cup as my bottoming. So I drill till I hit the wood, that kind of thing, and keep on going. So I'll move on to these and work my way through all the rest of these and get them drilled out and ready for dressing. Okay, now I'm on assembly. I took and sanded up, bolted everything together, used every hole after I drilled. This is glue residue from the paper and punching process, so it's no big deal. But I got all the edges. There's some minor, from the plasma cutting. I just ground till I got to the smallest dimension, right? These will be, I'm not polishing these, I guess. This one I use the Brillo pad and made more of a mess than I thought. It didn't scratch it, but I mean, it looks like shite. So I'll clean them all up. I'll have to sand them anyway with 180, and then I'm probably going to powder coat them. But there's each of the pieces, all cleaned up. You can see the hint of the edge of the plasma cut, and I'll clean them more when I take and powder coat them. But anyway, all of the pieces done and ready to assemble. So now I'm going to have to walk back and forth because you get enough pieces. For me, it's like 3. If you get 3, then I can't understand the combinations. So I have that setting in here and this out here. I'm just at this point going to use bolts. I'm going to try, these are all 3/8 holes. I'm going to try to see if I can't find 3/8 bushes with 5/16 button head, button head screws with a shelf on them. Come on. Step with a step on them, and then a smaller thread on the end, or if I can thread through a threaded bolt going through a threaded dowel, a female threaded dowel with a head on each side, something that'll dowel them up a little bit. But right now I'm going to try to get it assembled. I'll come right back to you and show you the mode of operation, and we should see how these work, just using the 3/8 bolts. No, I'm not going to finish them with a thread in contact with the surface. I'm going to finish them properly. So that's what I'm working on. I'll get right back to you. Okay, one side completely mocked up, contacts there. Okay, rotates around and it binds right there. Okay, but we'll do it on the vise here. So I stuck a couple of shims in here to hold these apart. So we're in the closed hood position right now. And the objective is for it to, I'm pinched. Okay, there we go. Okay, right there it is clocking back because I'm getting over center. So it may be prudent to get it right off of center. So now, and make this the closed position. And then it's lifting the whole hood up and angling it until it's at that angle. So what I need to do is, of course, sample it with a hard stop here, get a measured distance, and I'm a little concerned about this for this revision, because now I'm calling it a revision, because I don't like that. That can't happen. I'm wondering if I can get past that. There is no slop. There's no slop. So it's going to have to sit like just so that angle is about 85 degrees. That's where I thought I had it, but when I looked at the drawing, I had it 95 degrees. And then, see, I got to look because it's rotating, but it's lifting at the same time. So to make sure it doesn't hit, and then she just lifts right up. So, and that's a really sweet angle. You know, it's climbing quickly and working fine. I just have to now get into the fine tuning side of it. And that's why I didn't make this a piece of angle iron, you know, and all that, because this piece I'll recut. I'm going to TIG whatever the bracket is here that mounts to the firewall. We can walk over there. Whatever the bracket is that mounts to the firewall, see, and at whatever height it needs to be, because at this point the height it needs to be is where the skin sets on for the front and the back. And let's go to the critical side. Whoops. And that will fit. Again, there won't be bolts sticking through there. It'll be close tolerance. And so we'll go in a couple of different positions here. Let's get it out. Okay, that's about as far forward as it's already clearing, but so that'll clear. It's kind of hard to do this with two hands, but because I can't work the angles. Okay, so there's about half open. So it'll clear. It'll clear with the proper hardware. And I'll probably grab let's see here. Grab the inside slots of this mounting bracket. That's where this is adjustable. And I'll probably grab the very inside and then off of the firewall with my mount, because any movement in that, any adjustment in that, I'll probably make it adjustable, but any adjustment in that would of course be relative to the position of the hood side on the column and the hood top. So I'm pleased. Now we just got to make sure that the operation, I keep kicking the scoop for this side. Now we just got to make sure the operation works as intended, and those are minor tweaks. It's very possible that, you know, even if I shorten this up, no matter what, at the full extension down there, I'm going to get it. But if I shorten this, that's going to swing back more, and this will raise up higher. Yes, it will. These kinds of things are so dramatic on getting them to work. But I clearly will not hit the stop. I've over-centered, right? So it's got to be in that position there, which is slightly, you know, that's more than 90. The design that's slightly less than 90, but that's probably just from grinding. But, you know, that was clearance for that. And I did clearance for this swinging all the way up into here, but it's never going to get to that point. I just wanted to make sure there was clearance, but it does look pretty. And anyway, another thing is I could put a strut in there. I got to figure that out. I could put a strut across here because that distance gets shorter. Right, yeah, a small gas strut would, for assistance, would obviously work very well in pushing that out and up. So a lot more left to the design. I got to be able to package it. Still have to be able to package it. But I'm having fun. I'm having fun. Hi guys. There's about right here. Between here and here is about that far. So what we see here is we have revision 2 from yesterday and revision 3 today. And I wanted to do a demonstration. I am certainly over fixating on these hinges. But there's a couple of differences in these designs, and as you play around and play around and play around, I finally learned that there's more information. There's a wealth of information on the internet, and I wound up doing some research and getting this underway. And I talked to my son today, who's a drafter, and he said, "Why don't you just use your SolidWorks?" And I have SolidWorks, but I'm not intimate with modeling, and I didn't want to take the time to do it, which I could have because I've got well over 20 hours into dicking around here. So, but in any event, this guy here, he was yesterday's design. And I think I mentioned in the video, I was a little concerned about the cowl sits behind here approximately 3 inches. Okay. And we've got to lift the hood off of the cowl. And in this design, we're rotating on this point right here. And right now we're about perpendicular with level. And it really needs to go back just a little bit to make that situation 90. That's not critical. I could mount it. I could fabricate this bracket so that it sits correct with the hood. And I plan on doing that anyway. That's why there is no hood angle on here, because I have to arrive at it once I get the hinges mounted. But in any event, this one, as you see, when I rotate it up, it's still dropping in the back, and only until this point here is it raising the entire hinge up, and we get let me twist that up just a little bit, and we get a nice rise. It's up all the way. It's interfering. And of course that could be cleared just a little bit, but basically the point being is that it's up all the way. We can see this package. I'll come back down. This package is similar in size. It's certainly not as deep as this one, but very similar in size. And so I'll put this back up. And then this one now watch this backside. So the hood, in this example, it's a mirror image, a mirror representation. And it's very close to 90 degrees as it sits, right when it's locked. It's very close to 90 degrees. I just got it barely clamped in the vise here. So now when this guy goes up, notice the immediately it's coming off of up off of the cowl, and then it's rising up, and then I'm starting to over center here, but that would be where it stopped. But look at the pitch, this pitch compared to this one. Much nicer. Much nicer. I have a straight edge, and if I lay this straight edge on here relative to that bolt right there, at this point I'm up higher than the cowl. And very hard to do this, but there, you can see it's taken the whole hinge up. So if in this example, if I go oh, I'm already all the way down. Okay, so if I go, I'm in metrics. So if I'll go 4 inches to the center line right here. 4 inches to the center line. And I'm going to step around. Of that bolt. That's approximately where that bolt, it'll be a little less than that, but we'll use 4 inches. And we'll tighten it down again. I tightened up a couple of nuts just so that there wouldn't be a... Okay. You see how that just slides across the surface there? So it right now is intersecting about the top of the nut, right? And and I lost it. But I think you can get my drift here. I got it not too tight. This one's finger tight. And I must be tightening it as I'm twisting it. But anyway, the whole point being is that that'll be off of the hood. Now, how the hood mounts on here, it'll be a little bit of a slope and all that. But relative to this, the whole point was to not have the hood hit the cowl when the hinge opens. And so if this is the final revision, great. I'll have to do some, there we go. I'll have to do some studying on it. But I'm pretty happy with those results. And we'll do it again here. Okay. So if the hood is, yeah, I mean, you get the point. I won't ramble anymore. Thanks for watching. And so I'm just making a bunch of bushings. Okay. 1024 thread. Steel bushings, carbon steel. 3/8 bar. Fits in the 3/8 hole. Fender washers, stainless steel fender washers. I didn't get nuts. I was going to originally thread through, but 3/16 long on a 1024, even a 1032, I'd capture 32 threads per inch. I'm only 3/16 on each side. It wouldn't catch enough thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe do an acorn nut, stainless acorn nut. These are just basically zinc nuts right now. because it's what I have in stock. And that's what it's going to look like. But it's that they're in. This one's, I got 2 done, but boy, it works frickin' slick. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 per side to do. So, and that'll tighten it up. The profile will get nice and thin, right? So that's what I'm working on. Okay, here is the status so far, and just to give a good idea of what I'm accomplishing here. So these barrels, there's one more piece that goes on here, right here. Actually right here. I don't know, what am I working on here? What, this is a hinge. Yeah, rounded edge. And then he goes on right there. But I noticed that I have the wrong piece on the bottom. They're not identical. So this piece is the hood piece that goes up here. So also, yeah, this is the piece that goes right here. So it's not going to fit there at the moment because I screwed it into the wrong piece. Anyway, that's how that's going together. So I'm doubling up, and then I'm going to double up the hood too also. So, and then the singles will be these 2, and the doubles will be those 2. So it's coming together. That's just a lot of little pieces to make. I still have a few more to make. All right, went over to the computer. I could have unplugged my laptop and brought it over here, but I don't like having my laptop over here. And then I take it to the plasma table, but I have a long USB cord. Anyway, I made a little sketch of the layout and you know, the different components, because when it's all exploded, it is tough to see it. So in this case, I built the side 1, and side 2 is a mirror image of it, and I just buffed them with one of these. You know, it takes the sharp edges off them because I went in and I did all the edges. Okay, so it leaves burrs, you know, and so you can run around and just basically get the crap off of it. Anyway, assembled both of them. They got the little barrels in them, 1024s, stainless through the barrels. Of course, this hardware, the looks of this hardware isn't that good, but it is what I could get here in town. And the point is that I'd like to get, if I could get a button head or a truss head, Allen, with an Allen, and 3/16 long, I'd put one on each side. So I'm going to look for that. Anyway, and I was talking earlier about packaging, and because of the stick out on the threads, I just came to this side. But now, I mean, it's not positioned correctly, but it's as perpendicular as I can get it at this point. I mean, I can go in, but I'm trying to set it on a screw right now. But clearly it'll go perpendicular because I have room. Clearly these aren't going to be here, you know. And I'll put the flange on here. I'll probably come around, maybe even around this radius, and I'll tie into this, bolt into this bracket. I think I mentioned that. Maybe at the bottom, you know, and grab it all. But they look good. They fit into the packaging. I could go out, if you remember from earlier information, that I measured out to around this first bung here, you know, just in this area is about 8 inches. So it packages. very well. Now I just have to fab up the mount, or the flanges for mounting, and then start to build the frame for the hood skin, the skeleton, if you want to call it that. And so there will be a band that goes across here and a band that goes across here that will capture the latch, and they'll be tied together, and then with a lot of flat area, more like a hat channel, if you're familiar with that. Let me back up. More like a hat channel on the front and the back, and then probably a hat channel too here on the side. And a hat channel has a shape of beep, 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 like that. You have to be formed for the front and the back, and then flat for the side. And that's what we'll use, and we'll bond on the hood skin when I get that done. So we're making progress. Inside this channel, I can run, I can run a hood cable for an interior latch and a latch assembly up front. I don't exactly know how I'm going to do that. I might do something integrated. I'm still thinking about a 3D printed ornament, and maybe the ornament opens the hood. I don't know. Nobody's gonna. I don't know. When you have a hot rod, from your neck of the woods, I don't know, but certainly from mine, there seems to be a relatively high respect. I'm not naive, but I mean, people typically don't come up and screw around with your stuff. They know it's very personal, and there's always those out there. But I find that if I lock my doors because of what's inside, but I don't know. Come out from Menards or Walmart or something, and 6 guys are on the car looking at your engine, and they chose to open the hood. They're not gonna, whatever. I'll stop rambling. Anyway, I'm very happy with the progress here. I got parts in to start building on the 79 now, so I got to get crack-a-lacking on it. Thanks for watching, guys.